Good morning, all of you. We were discussing about the applications of inductive effect, isn't it? So far, we had seen the effect on bone lengths as well as the effect on dipole moment. So the next application of inductive effect, that is regarding the relative strength of acids. Okay, relative strength of acids on this inductive effect. How this inductive effect will be working on the acids, on different types of acids, whether it is a primary or a secondary or a tertiary acid, or sometimes it can be more number of alkyl groups are attached to that particular acid. So in such cases you have to explain the acid strength. So how will you define an acid strength? An acid means a substance which can donate a proton, that is called as an acid, isn't it? A substance which can donate an H plus, it is called as an acid. And while considering the case of this acid strength means it can be defined as the ease with which a proton can be donated. Acid strength is the ease with which a proton can be donated. Ease with which a proton can be donated, that is what is called as this acid strength. Okay, see, suppose we had seen two types of inductive effect, that is plus I effect and minus I effect, isn't it? Plus I effect means the groups which are having electron releasing tendency, those groups we can call it as the groups with plus I effect. And minus I effect means those groups which are having the electron withdrawing power, isn't it? Those which are having the electron withdrawing power, those groups which will be having minus I effect. See here, suppose acid means it will be having a COOH group. Okay, suppose to this COOH group one CH3 group is attached. Okay, if a CH3 group is attached to this COOH group, what happens is that, what about the CH3 group? CH3 group is a group having plus I effect, isn't it? CH3 group is a group having plus I effect. So what happens? The inductive effect, or it will be having a plus I effect, that means the electron will be donated towards this COOH group, isn't it? The electron shift will be towards this COOH group. So what happens is that normally acid means the ease with or the acid strength means it is the ease with which a proton can be donated. So while these electrons are releasing towards the COOH group, what happens? The electron density around the COOH group will be increasing, isn't it? Electron density around COOH group. Electron density around COOH group will be increasing, isn't it? It will be increasing. So what happens? Since the electron density around the COOH group is increasing, COOH means the bonding, it will be like this: C double bond O, single bond OH, isn't it? So if the electron density around this group is increasing, what happens? The removal of this H plus as a proton becomes more difficult. Okay, that means this hydrogen will be more attached to this oxygen atom, or the electron density will be increased, so that the removal of this particular proton, it is difficult. Okay, so if the electron density around COH is increasing, what happens? The removal of proton becomes difficult. Removal of proton becomes difficult. Okay, removal of proton becomes difficult, so that we can say that if the removal of proton is difficult, that means the acid strength is decreasing. Acid strength decreases. Okay, so this is the theory behind this particular inductive effect, that is, if a plus I effect group is attached to COH group, the electron density around the COH will be increasing, so the removal of this proton will be difficult, and hence we can say that the acid strength will be decreasing. Then again, if a minus I effect group is attached, then what will be the case? See, suppose I am writing it as chloroacetic acid, ClCH2 COOH. Okay, so here the Cl group is attached, or here what about the Cl group? Cl group, it is having a minus I effect, that is, it is an electron withdrawing group, isn't it? So what happens? The electron shift will be towards this chlorine atom, so that what happens? The electron density around this COH group will be decreasing, isn't it? electron density around COH will be decreasing, and as a result what happens is proton can be easily removed, and hence we can say that the acid strength will be increasing. Okay, so here this is a minus I effect group, so the electron density around COOH, electron density around COOH decreases. So the removal of proton, it is easy. Removal of proton is easy, and therefore the acid strength increases. Okay, so this is the two cases, plus I effect group and minus I effect group in a particular acid group. Okay, then now we can go through some of the examples given in your textbook. Hope you are clear with this theory part. Then we can go through some of the examples. See, first example, HCOOH. This is formic acid, right? Formic acid. Then the next one, the acetic acid, CH3COOH. Then the next one, C2H5COOH, that is propanoic acid. Formic acid, acetic acid, propanoic acid, then butanoic acid, C3H7COOH, butanoic acid. Okay, formic, acetic, propanoic and butanoic acid. See here, in the first case, the COH group, it is attached to a hydrogen atom, isn't it? In the second case, one CH3 group is there, isn't it? So the electron shift will be towards this COH group. So comparing these two, which one will be having greater acid strength? Formic acid will be having greater acid strength. Then again comparing CH3COH, that is acetic acid and propanoic acid. See, this propanoic acid means the COOH, then again what all groups are there? One CH2, again one CH3 group is there, isn't it? So here the CH3 group will be shifting its electron towards this methyl group or CH2 group. Then again this CH2 group will be shifting the electron towards the COH group, isn't it? So two alkyl groups are there, isn't it? Two alkyl groups are there. So these two groups will be pulling the electrons towards this COOH group. Okay, so in this case, in the case of acetic acid, there will be one alkyl group, but in propanoic acid, there will be two alkyl groups, and the two groups will be pulling the electron towards the COH group. So what happens? The electron density around this COOH group will further be increased than in the case of acetic acid. Okay, so here the electron density is further increased while comparing with that of this acetic acid. Okay, so in the case of CH2COH, two alkyl groups are there. Here one alkyl group. Again, see in this case, in the case of butanoic acid, see here how many methyl groups or how many alkyl groups? Again, CH3, CH2, CH2, COOH, isn't it? So here how many alkyl groups? 1, 2 and 3. Again, from the three alkyl groups, the electrons will be pulling towards the COH group. So again the electron density will be further increased in the case of butanoic acid. So as the alkyl groups attached to this COH group increases, what happens? The removal of H plus will become more difficult, and therefore we can say that the acid strength decreases in this manner. Okay, so while comparing these four acids, formic acid, acetic acid, then propanoic acid and butanoic acid, while comparing these four acids, we can say that the acid strength is decreasing in this order. Acid strength decreases along this order. Okay, so this is the first example. So here formic acid is a stronger acid while comparing with that of butanoic acid. Okay, so otherwise we can say that greater the pKa value. Also we can compare the pKa values. For formic acid, the pKa value is 3.75. Okay, for acetic acid it is 4.76. For propanoic acid it is 4.87. Then for butanoic acid it is 4.90. So from the pKa value itself we can say that, see, this formic acid, it is having greater acid strength. Okay, so as the greater the pKa value, weaker is the acid. Okay, that also you have to note down. The next point, greater the pKa value, weaker is the acid. So here greater pKa value is for butanoic acid. Okay, so greater the pK value, weaker is the acid. And also the acid strength. If an H group is attached to forming to the acid group, it will be having the greater acid strength. Then comes methyl group, then comes ethyl group, then comes propyl group, C3H7. Okay, likewise also the acid strength. Okay, so if methyl group is attached to an acid, it will be more acidic while comparing with that of an ethyl group. Okay, so the least one is acid strength, least it is in case of propanoic acid. Okay, then the next example. So hope you are clear with this example. So this is the first one. So here in all these cases you have to study the examples, and also in your exam with regard to their examination point of view, you will be asking to compare the different types of acids, the acid strength. You have to compare the acid strength of different acids. Given one or two acids will be there, and you have to compare the acid strength. Okay, so here this is the first example, and you have to study it very clearly. It is very, very important. This inductive effect, this whole chapter, it is very, very important. An application level question can be asked from anywhere of this particular chapter. Okay, so you have to study the theory behind it, and also the examples you have to study clearly. Please don't by heart. You have to understand the theory and then write using suitable examples. Okay, depending on the mark, you have to write down the answers also. Then the next example, example number 2. Acetic acid, CH3COOH. Then the next is iodoacetic acid, CH2COOH, ICH2COOH. Then BrCH2COOH. Then the next is ClCH2COOH. Okay. See here, what all groups are attached? Here one methyl group is there. This methyl group, it is having what effect? It is having plus I effect, isn't it? Then iodine, it is having minus I effect, right? Minus I. Then for bromine, it is also having minus I effect. Then for chlorine, also it is having minus I effect. Okay. First of all, if two examples are given of, or if two compounds are given, you have to identify what type of group is attached, or the group for the group what type of inductive effect is acting. Okay. So this is the first point to be noted down. And then the next one, then the acid strength, normally this will increase in the order. Acid strength will be increasing in the order hydrogen, then less than iodine, less than bromine, bromine less than chlorine. Okay, so the acid strength will be highest for the case of chlorine. Okay, so that means the minus I effect will be maximum in the case of chloroacetic acid. So the how we can write the order of this acid strength? Acetic acid, it will be having very least acid strength, since it is having a plus I effect, isn't it? CH3 group, so the electron pulling will be like this. But in the case of iodoacetic acid, the electron shift will be towards this iodine atom, isn't it? So the electron density around the COH group will be decreasing, and as a result, the ease of removal of this proton it's very high while comparing with that of this acetic acid. So it is having much greater acid strength compared with this one. Okay. And then comes bromoacetic acid, then comes chloroacetic acid. So this chloroacetic acid, it will be having the maximum acidic strength. Okay, chloroacetic acid will be having the maximum acid strength. So you have to remember this particular order also. Hydrogen less than iodine, less than bromine, bromine less than chlorine. Okay, so that is the second example. Then the next example, third one. Chloroacetic acid, ClCH2COOH. Then you have to replace these two hydrogen atoms by two other chlorine atoms. Okay. Then the next compound, one of the hydrogen, it is replaced by another chlorine atom. Okay. So I am writing it as Cl2, then CHCOOH. Then again one more hydrogen is there. This hydrogen is also replaced by another chlorine atom. Okay. So then again Cl3, CCOOH. Okay. So here, see which one will be having the maximum acid strength, ClCH2 or Cl2 or Cl3. Normally, Cl3 will be having the maximum this acid strength. Okay, so chloroacetic acid less than dichloroacetic acid less than trichloroacetic acid. That means here 3 Cl groups are there, isn't it? CCl3. 3 Cl groups are there. So the electron withdrawing effect is maximum for this chlorine. So what happens? So here all the electron withdraw 3 chlorine atoms are there. So the 3 chlorine atoms will be withdrawing electron from this carbon atom, so that the electron density around this COH group will be decreased, and as a result this H plus can be removed very easily. Okay, so while comparing these three, this trichloroacetic acid, it will be having the maximum acid strength. Trichloroacetic acid is having the maximum acid strength, and also while writing the pKa values, for chloroacetic acid it is 2.85, for dichloroacetic acid it is 1.25, and for trichloroacetic acid it is 0.66. See here also we had written earlier, that is, as the pKa value increases, the strength of the acid decreases. So here pKa value is maximum in the case of chloroacetic acid, so it is having the least strength while comparing these three compounds. Okay, see here in this case also for acetic acid the pKa value is 4.76, for iodoacetic acid it is 3.16, for bromoacetic acid it is 2.90, and for chloroacetic acid it is 2.85. Okay, so here chloroacetic acid is having the least value of pKa, so we can say that it is having the greatest acid strength. Okay, so this is the case of the strength of, regarding the strength of acids. Now we have to discuss the strength of bases. Okay, strength of bases. Relative strength of bases. Relative strength of bases. Normally, what do you mean by a base? Base means it is a substance which can accept a proton, isn't it? Base is a substance which can accept a proton. Normally, examples for a base, the very good example it is ammonia, isn't it? Then comes amines, etc. These are all bases. That means they have the tendency to accept a proton. Or otherwise we can say that they have got a lone pair of electrons, isn't it? So normally these basic substances, they will be having a lone pair of electrons, and this lone pair of, due to the presence of this lone pair of electrons, it is capable of accepting a proton, isn't it? It has got a lone pair of electrons. That is why it is capable of accepting, therefore capable of accepting a proton. Capable of accepting a proton. Capable of accepting a proton. Okay, so normally how will you define a basic strength? Just like acid strength, we have to define basic strength also. So basic strength means it is the measure of the capacity to furnish an electron pair for sharing. It is the capacity, measure of capacity, or capacity to furnish an electron pair for sharing. To furnish an electron pair for sharing. That is called as the basic strength. Okay. It is the capacity to furnish an electron pair for sharing. So normally ammonia, it will be having one lone pair of electrons. So it has got a tendency to accept a proton, or it can avail this lone pair of electrons for sharing. Okay. So normally while comparing this amines and ammonia, amines are stronger bases than ammonia. Amines are normally stronger than ammonia. What might be the reason? See, in the case of amines, suppose I am writing an amine, that is CH3NH2. Okay, CH3NH2 and NH3. See here in the case of amine, see here this CH3 group means it is a plus I effect group, right? CH3 group is a plus I effect. So what happens? It will be shifting the electron towards this nitrogen atom, isn't it? The arrow will be like this, so that the electron density around the nitrogen atom will further be increased. Okay, so the electron density, this methyl group, it is shifting the electron, it will be pulling the electron towards nitrogen. So what happens? The electron density around nitrogen atom will further be increased. So what happens? This amines will be a stronger base than while comparing with that of ammonia. So the basic strength is greater in the case of methyl amine than in the case of ammonia. Okay, so that is the first example. Amines are stronger than ammonia. Okay, so the reason is that due to the plus I effect of this alkyl group, plus I effect of methyl group. That is the reason. Okay, so as the number of plus I effect groups are increasing, what happens? The basic strength will also increase. Okay, so if this again one of the hydrogen atom, it is replaced by another methyl group, so what happens if one of the hydrogen, see, suppose NH, this is CH3NH2, suppose I am substituting one of the hydrogen atom with another alkyl group. Okay, so CH3. So both of the CH3 group will be pulling electron towards this nitrogen atom, so that the electron density around this nitrogen atom will further be increased, so that it will be more basic while comparing with that of this methyl amine. Okay, so a dimethyl amine will be more basic than a methyl amine. Okay, dimethyl amine is more basic than methyl amine. Dimethyl amine more basic than methyl amine, CH3NH2. Okay, dimethyl amine is more basic than methyl amine. Okay, then the next is another example. Ammonia, third example, ammonia, then CH3NH2, then CH3 twice NH, CH3 twice NH, then again CH3, N, CH3, CH3. You have to compare these four compounds. Okay, first one, that is ammonia, second one methylamine, third one dimethylamine, and the fourth one trimethylamine. Okay, so here in the first case only ammonia, no plus I effect groups are there. In the second case, what happens? This one CH3 group is there. So the CH3 group, it will be pulling electron towards nitrogen atom. That means this methyl group, it is having a plus I effect. So comparing these two, which one will be having a greater value? This methylamine will be more basic than this ammonia, isn't it? So ammonia less than methylamine, basic strength. Okay. Then again in the third case, see, two methyl groups are there. So the electron pull will be towards this nitrogen atom. So again the electron density will further be increased than in the case of methylamine. So this third one, or the dimethylamine, this is dimethylamine. So dimethylamine will be more basic than that of methylamine. Okay. Then again the last one, the fourth case, it is an exceptional case. You have to study it carefully. This fourth one, that is an exceptional, that is trimethylamine. See here, we can say that three methyl groups are there, isn't it? Three methyl groups are there, and the three methyl groups will be pulling the electron towards the nitrogen atom, so that the electron density will further be increased, isn't it? So that is actually happening, but that is the explanation as per the theory, isn't it? Three methyl groups are there, so the electron pull or the electron density around the nitrogen atom will further be increased than in the case of dimethylamine. Okay, but actually what happens is that, see, these three methyl groups are having a steric effect. That means it is a crowded group, a bulkier group is there surrounding this nitrogen atom, isn't it? Since a bulkier group is present, what happens? This steric effect will be acting at this case, at this compound. A steric effect due to the presence of bulkier groups. Steric effect is there due to the presence of bulkier groups. That means, so what happens is that it is not easy to donate this lone pair of electrons as a result of the crowding occurring due to the presence of these three methyl groups. Okay, three methyl groups, and these three methyl groups are crowded around the nitrogen atom so that a proton cannot attack this nitrogen atom so easily. Okay, these three groups are crowded, so what happens, a proton cannot easily attack this nitrogen atom. So this crowding of group, that is called as the steric effect. Okay, crowding of the groups in a molecule, we can say the effect is called as the steric effect. You have to study that steric effect in detail. So we can say that this is an exceptional case, and this basic strength will be coming at this position, that is ammonia. After ammonia, what, this trimethylamine will be coming. Okay, so we can write the order like this: ammonia less than trimethylamine. I am writing it like this: CH3 thrice N. Okay, CH3 thrice N. Then comes methylamine. Okay, CH3 NH2. Then comes dimethylamine, CH3 twice NH. So this is the actual order taking place in this case. Okay, that is the actual order of basic strength. So along this order, the basic strength increases. Basic strength increases in this order. Okay, so this is the reason. So in the case of trimethylamine, it is an exception due to steric effect. It will be less basic than methylamine. So first comes ammonia, then comes trimethyl, then comes methyl, then comes dimethylamine. Okay. So this also, you have to study this exception also. So here a steric effect or steric crowding due to the presence of the bulkier groups. So this is regarding the inductive effect. So you have to study the phenomenon called as inductive effect and also the applications of inductive effect as well. The applications is also very, very important. Mainly this acidic strength and basic strength, it is an usually asked question. Last year also it is asked in the university question paper. So please don't avoid these particular portions. This is very important. Don't skip these portions. Okay. So now we can move on to the next electron displacement effect, that is the electromeric effect. Electromeric effect. See, in the case of electromeric effect, see, this is actually taking place in double bonded compounds or triple bonded compounds. Double bonds or triple bonds. Electromeric effect will be happening in double as well as triple bonds. See, normally a double bond means it will be having a sigma bond as well as a pi bond. One sigma bond and one pi bond. And in the case of a triple bond means it will be having one sigma bond and two pi bonds, isn't it? Triple bond means one is the sigma bond and the other two pi bonds. So normally this pi bond, it is very easy to break down, isn't it? It is comparatively a weaker bond while comparing with that of this sigma bond. Okay, while comparing both sigma and pi bond is a weaker bond. Okay. So in the case of this double bonded compounds or a triple bonded compounds, that means in the case of unsaturated compounds, this effect is taking place. Electromeric effect is taking place in the case of unsaturated compounds. Okay. So see, normally the pi electrons will be polarizable. That means if an electrophile is attacking this pi bond, what happens, or if an electrophile means it will be charged, the charge is positive, E plus, isn't it? So if an electrophile is attacking an unsaturated compound, what happens, the pi bond present in that particular compound is polarizable. That means there will be a pi electron shift taking place. Okay, a pi electron shift. That means, see, suppose this is a carbon-carbon double bond. See, suppose an electrophile is attacking this particular compound. So what happens is that, see here, across the double bond, the two carbon atoms are present. So suppose this is the sigma and this is the pi bond. So what happens is that the pi electron will be shifting towards the one of the carbon atom. So if this electron pair is completely transferred to this carbon, what happens, this carbon will be gaining a negative charge and this carbon will be getting a positive charge. Okay, so the electron shift will be completely taking place towards this carbon atom, so that we can write it like this: C, single bond C, the pi bond is shifted, isn't it? So since this pi bond is shifted towards this carbon, this will be getting a positive charge and this carbon a negative charge. Okay, so this is the electromeric effect. So this electromeric effect, what happens in case of unsaturated compounds, if an electrophile is attacking to that particular unsaturated compound, the pi bond, it is completely transferred to this one of the carbon atom. Okay, or the pi bond is completely transferred to one of the atom present. And also in the case of inductive effect, it is a permanent effect, but in this case electromeric effect, it is a temporary effect. Electromeric effect is a temporary effect. That means if the electrophile is removed or if the attacking reagent is removed, what happens? The electrons will be taking its initial position, its actual positions. Okay, so if in the presence of an electrophile only, this particular electromeric effect takes place. Okay, so then next we can go through the definition for this electromeric effect. Electromeric effect is a temporary effect. Electromeric effect is a temporary effect. You have to write down the definition. Is a temporary effect which involves the complete transfer of the shared pair of electrons, or the shared electron pair. Okay, shared electron pair to one of the atoms, joined by what type of bond? A double or a triple bond. Joined by a double or triple bond in the presence of an attacking reagent. In the presence of an attacking reagent. So this is the definition for an electromeric effect. Electromeric effect, it is a temporary effect. Then it involves the complete transfer of the shared electron pair to one of the atoms. Now we had seen the equation, the reaction, that is this particular shared pair of electron, the pi electron pair, it is completely transferred to one of the atoms. And this electron transfer, it will be taking place only in the presence of an electrophile. Okay, so this much it is the definition for this electromeric effect. You have to study the definition also for the case of this electromeric effect. Okay, so if the attacking reagent is withdrawn, what happens? The original electronic condition will be restored. Okay, so if the attacking electrophile, if it is removed, the original condition or the original actual bonds will be restored. Then we can go through some of the examples here also. Suppose CH3 CH double bond CH2. So this is propene, isn't it? 1 propene. The compound is 1 propene. That is first carbon atom, there is a double bond, isn't it? So it is 1 propene. You see in the first module you have to study the nomenclature also. I will be taking it in the last session. Okay, nomenclature of this organic compounds. So here what happens is that, see, there are 2 chances for this pi electron shift, isn't it? That means this pi electron, it can be shifted to the first carbon atom, isn't it? So it can shift like this, so that I can write this. That means if the electron shift is like this, what happens? Second carbon will be getting a positive charge and the first carbon will be getting a negative charge. Okay, so I will be writing that ionic structure CH plus single bond CH2 minus. So this is one chance. Okay, suppose if the electron pair, if this pi electron shift it is towards this second carbon atom, what happens? CH3 CH double bond CH2. So if the electron shift it is towards this carbon atom, what happens? This carbon, this is 1, 2 and 3. So the first carbon will be getting a positive charge and the second carbon will be getting a negative charge. Okay, CH3 CH negative. Since the electron pair is transferred to second carbon atom, it will be getting a negative charge. Then single bond CH2 plus. Okay, so 2 chances are there, isn't it? 2 chances are there for the electron shift. But actually what happens is that this is not the case. So there are two chances. Which one will be the right electron displacement? See, in the first case, see, a plus I effect group is attached, isn't it? That means an electron releasing CH group and a CH3 group is there. So that means a plus I effect means the electron pull will be towards like this, CH3. Then again the electron shift will be towards this carbon atom, isn't it? So it will be in the, so what happens is that this electron shift will be taking place in the direction of this inductive effect. Okay, so the displacement of pi electrons will be away from the electron releasing group. Okay, see here the displacement of electrons, it is away from the electron releasing group. Here the electron pull, it is towards this carbon atom. So again the inductive effect will be taking place in a simultaneous pattern. Okay, so that is the first case. So here the actual what is that, the actual electron displacement is the first case. The first case is the right one, but the second case will not take place because it is opposite to that of the inductive effect, isn't it? See here, methyl group, it is pulling the electrons towards this carbon atom, but the pi electron pair cannot displace towards the second carbon atom. So this will not take place. Okay, this will not take place. This electron shift will not take place, but this type of electron shift will be taking place. So the first electron displacement is the correct one. Okay, the first electron displacement, it is the correct. Second one will not take place since an inductive effect is operating due to the presence of the methyl group. Okay, so this type of if a plus I effect group is there, or the displacement of pi electrons, if the displacement of pi electrons, if the displacement of pi electrons is away from the electron releasing group, that is in the first case, away from the electron releasing group, if the displacement of pi electrons is away from the electron releasing group, then that type of electromagnetic effect, it is plus E effect. Okay, just similar to that of the inductive effect. Okay, the displacement of the pi electrons is away from the electron releasing group, it is plus E effect. At the same time, if the pi electrons are displaced towards the group, if the pi electrons are displaced towards the group, then that type of electromagnetic effect is minus E effect. Okay, minus E effect and plus E effect. These two effect also you have to study. Displacement of pi electrons away from the electron releasing group. That means here it is having plus E effect. Okay, plus E effect. So if it is plus E effect, and if the pi electrons are displaced towards the group, that is minus E effect. So here we had seen an example with two carbon atoms, right? Here two carbon atoms are there. Then we can go through another example. Suppose it is C double bond O. That means these two atoms are having different electronegativities, isn't it? They will be having some electronegativity difference in the case of carbon and oxygen. In such cases, what will be the shift? The pi electron pair will be displaced more towards this oxygen atom, isn't it? More towards the more electronegative atom, so that the compound, the electron shift will be represented like this: C plus single bond O minus. Okay. So this electron displacement will be more towards the more electronegative atom, or the electromagnetic shift will be taking place towards the more electronegative atom. Towards more electronegative atom. Towards the more electronegative atom. Okay. So this is the case for the electromagnetic effect. Then the next one, we have to compare the inductive effect as well as the electromagnetic effect, or the differences between this inductive effect and electromagnetic effect. It is very important. Differences between inductive and electromagnetic effect. Inductive and electromagnetic effect. It is also very, very important. It is usually asked question inductive and electromagnetic effect. Okay, so you have to draw two columns. First column inductive, you have to compare both inductive and electromagnetic effect. So in the case of inductive effect, what type of electrons are involved in inductive effect? Only sigma electrons are involved in inductive effect, but in the case of electromagnetic effect, the pi electrons are involved, isn't it? Pi electron shift is taking place in electromagnetic effect. Then the second point is that in inductive effect, permanent shift of electrons takes place, isn't it? Permanent shift of electrons, but in the case of electromagnetic effect, a temporary electronic shift is taking place. Since while during the removal of this electrophile, what happens? The electronic positions will be retained. That is the second difference. Then the third one, here for inductive effect, a double bond or a triple bond is not essential in the case of an inductive effect, isn't it? Because this inductive effect, it is taking place in sigma bonds. But in the case of electromagnetic effect, a double or a triple bond is essential. Okay, so presence of double or triple bond is essential. Double or triple bond is essential, but here, sorry, is not essential, but here presence of double or triple bond is essential. Presence of double or triple bond is essential. Okay. Then the fourth point is that here no attacking reagent is required. That is, an electrophile or a nucleophile is not essential for an inductive effect. No attacking reagent is required, but here an attacking reagent, that is an electrophile or a nucleophile, is essential. An attacking reagent is essential. An attacking reagent is essential. Okay. Then the next point is that charge separation is only partial. Charge separation is only partial. That means there, while writing the inductive effect, we will be writing as delta positive and delta negative, isn't it? Only a slight positive and slight negative charge. No complete charge separation is there. But in the case of this electromagnetic effect, charge separation is complete. Charge separation is complete. That is, we will be writing as C plus and C minus, isn't it? In the product, we will be writing as C plus and C minus. That means a complete charge separation is going on. Okay. Then the last point, the displaced electron pair. The displaced electron pair does not leave the molecular orbital. Does not leave the molecular orbital. But here, the displaced electron pair leaves the molecular orbital. That means here a complete charge separation is there. So the displaced electron pair leaves that particular molecular orbital. But here the charge separation is partial, so it does not leave the molecular orbital. So these are the differences between inductive effect and electromagnetic effect. These 6 points also you have to study thoroughly. Usually it will be asked for section C part or sometimes section B part. Okay, so you have to be ready for the C part. So you have to study all these 6 points, that is the 6 differences between inductive and electromagnetic effect. Okay, so in the next session we will be discussing the applications of this electromagnetic effect. Okay, so thank you, and we can meet in our next session. Okay, bye.